Are live service games bad for the industry? Let's talk about it. On the one hand, we have incredible live service games out there. We are very spoiled for choice. We have games like Fortnite, Roblox, Apex Legends, Destiny 2, Argraders, Helldivers 2, No Man's Sky. The list is relatively long. Today there are roughly 10 to 20 dominant AAA live service games that hold the majority of player time and revenue. And on the other hand, there are a slew of live service games that have launched the past couple years that have struggled, and some, dare I say, failed miserably to capture an audience. Highguard is the most recent game to experience this, with their dev team getting hit with massive layoffs less than a month after the game launched. And the same thing happened with the League of Legends free 2v2 fighting game 2XKO, with their dev team getting downsized also just a month after launch. There's the public downfalls of Anthem, Concord, and Skull and Bones that were all deemed flops so quickly after they launch. And that's just a few of the games that this has happened to in the past few years. Yes, it's become clear there is a pattern that is getting harder and harder to ignore. To briefly touch on what a live service game is, it's pretty simple. It's a game that keeps you playing it for months on end, years on end. A game that launches once, is an always online experience, and that continually provides updates so players don't get bored of the game's content and offerings. Seasonal updates, battle passes, limited time cosmetics, new events and challenges, new story campaigns, maps, and game modes. You get the idea. A live service game simply means a game that never has a definitive end, with the end goal of keeping the player engaged for long periods of time. Live service games are arguably the most successful game models ever created. Just take a look at Fortnite. Fortnite also generated a whopping $5.8 billion in revenue in 2024 alone. Roblox generated a cool $3.6 billion that same year as well. So developers and publishers everywhere, of course, saw that and started making all their games live service games in hopes of getting the same results, which makes sense. There are many benefits to making live service games, the main one being a recurring revenue stream. Why make one single player game that makes the bulk of its money at launch when you can make one successful live service game that generates 10 years of ongoing cash flow for shareholders to enjoy? So, what's the problem? Why are so many live service games flopping? Well, first and foremost, we have to address that long development timelines unfortunately make it so that by the time a game releases, the market has already drastically shifted. And every game studio that jumped on the same bandwagon of making a particular genre of game is releasing their games within a tight time frame and to an already crowded market. It's what we're seeing happen right now. It's live service hero shooter after live service hero shooter. How many do we really need? Secondly, there's the issue of devs designing games around the live service model to make the max amount of money possible, instead of designing games around the only model that should matter: good gameplay. For example, Anthem failed for several reasons, but the main one was due to its content or lack thereof. Its core gameplay loop of flying and shooting was underwhelming, to say the least. Its missions were repetitive, and its story lacked any true substance. Not to mention, Anthem had a severe lack of post-launch content to keep players engaged, which was possibly due to its rocky launch. And that's just what happened with Anthem. A similar story can be applied to other failed live service games of the past few years. Kill the Justice League, Concord, Highguard, all games we could clearly see were designed around the live service model, which unfortunately led to their downfall. Then there are the live service success stories, proof that if you make the content of the game good, it will succeed. No Man's Sky comes to mind. Its launch was a complete disaster, and it by all accounts should have disappeared into the void, but somehow with consistent new and free updates that actually satisfied its player base and were fun, it grew into a success. Now, live service wasn't nearly as prominent when No Man's Sky first came out back in 2016, but it shows that good and fun gameplay content is key to a successful game, whether it be live service or otherwise. There's also the problem of consumer disconnect. Gamers are vocal and are well aware when a studio is very clearly jumping on the live service trend, and it's a turnoff. Players will be vocal, and if a game is filled with bugs, has any form of predatory monetization, features lazy world building and storytelling, if they see it, they will vocalize it. Even go so far as to review bomb a game into oblivion. It's a tough audience, but studios are seemingly correcting their approach, as some publishers are canceling live service games and going back to the drawing board. For example, Sony just recently canceled the live service God of War game that they were working on, as well as one unannounced title from Days Gone developer Bend's studio. And just this past year, BioWare officially shut down Anthem, and instead is putting all their focus into developing Mass Effect 5 and is apparently taking their time with it. So the market is gradually showing signs of a correction. They're starting to take the hint, so to speak. And if we look at the exponential success of indie games as of late, with single single-player games like Expedition 33 and Balatro taking the world by storm, we can see that the audience is craving something more. Lastly, live service games remain a risky investment, and especially with the market saturation we're seeing today. To justify the ongoing investment, studios must achieve an extremely high level of player retention, a notoriously difficult thing to maintain. So it seems there has been a silver lining in all of this discourse. And the good news is, we have plenty of great live service games out at the moment to sustain us until the next big one hits. So are live service games bad for the industry? I'd say not inherently. At best, they build incredible communities and keep players having fun for years on end. But whenever industries try to capitalize on a trend to make a quick buck, oversaturation is inevitable. Then comes the dreadful correction. Jobs are lost, studios get shut down, players burn out, and the industry takes a hit, and nobody wins. So, studio and publisher higher-ups should take note. I'm not saying never make a live service game again, I'm saying take this as a lesson. And please never forget the fun. But what do you think? Should live service games take a backseat for a bit? Are there any live service games you're looking forward to? Sound off in the comments and let me know what you think. And thanks for watching. Bye.